Rotimi, thank you so much for joining us. The last time I was on, I continued to make the point about the market conditions just being good, maybe not perfect, but certainly good for equities as we expect more liquidity to go towards the NSC as investors looking for yield continue to move from the fixed income market to the equity markets, perhaps looking for dividend yield. So with this slow start that we're seeing this week, what do you think is to come this week in the stock market?
Well, I think this week will be when some of the third quarter results will be hitting the market, and there is so much positive expectation as touching those figures that are released. And that is why the market has kept steady in some areas and also been upward in some other stocks. For me, I believe barring all other factors, vis-a-vis the current protest going on, if it doesn't escalate more than what we have seen, I think this week is just actually good to go for the market. So we are more likely to see the results coming in, and we are also likely to see positive reactions trending those results.
All right, so it sounds like that for you is the main catalyst, but what about the point I made about the liquidity coming from the fixed income markets? Do you think that will be significant and sustained over the course of the next few weeks? And if so, what impact do you think that could have on the market's rally?
Yes, like I said, barring all other factors, with such liquidity coming, and the yield, the good yield, is actually in the equity market where investors can find it for now. Because for the fixed income market, I think the yield continue to dwindle quarter after quarter, period after period. So what I'm saying in essence is, with such liquidity coming, with the expectation of the third quarter results, and also with the yield expectation at the close of the financial year next by December, and the results coming in January, in February, March, I believe strongly that investors are actually going to reposition to take new positions, to reposition and take more equities in the market, and at the same time, that liquidity is going to definitely be a plus for the market.
So if you're a stock picker this week, what do you like the most in the banking sector and, of course, non-financials?
Well, I think the banking sector stocks are still very good, especially the ones whose prices are still below 10 naira. For the other ones, the likes of GT, Zenith, and Stanbic, though the bargain hunt will still be there, but I think the ones that should draw the eye of investors should actually be those tier 1 banks whose prices are still below 10 naira. And I think for consumer goods, we've seen some good performance in the breweries, and I think that also may likely continue in spite of the non-impressive result they have been churning out. I think for the industrial goods as well, I think investors are really positive in that direction. So for those three sectors, I think investors will be able to make a good pick from from any of them.
It certainly looks like things are heating up in relation to the NSAS protests across the country. We're hearing about a curfew being in place in a few hours in Edo State. And as things continue to progress along these lines, what impact do you think this is likely to have on the sentiment towards equities? Or do you get the sense that the investors will simply read this as a temporary blip and something that we perhaps would be talking less about in the next few weeks?
Well, investors may not really take it very seriously. And the only way they can take it very seriously is if there is a wrong pronouncement from the federal government as touching the NSAS protest. If they make the wrong move, then definitely it's going to backfire on the economy. So I think they need to sit down as a think tank and be able to analyze the issue and see how they can actually massage the ego of Nigerians and give them positive promises that can be kept. Otherwise, if they make the wrong pronouncement, it's going to backfire on everyone, equity, fixed income, and even the larger economy.
All right. I know you spoke of your top picks for the rest of for this week at least, but I want to be more specific about those who are looking for dividend yield. I mentioned the point that there has been that search for yield in the market because of the low yields in the fixed income market. In that regard, what do you like the most in the market today?
In that regard, I think I will rather go for companies whose dividend yield presently is still in the upward of 10%. And that mostly you get in the banking sector stocks.
Yeah, I was hoping you'd be specific very quickly if you can before I wrap. Which stocks in particular do you think would deliver those type of yields?
Yeah, UBS will do that. Very banks will still do that. And I believe also that I don't know what access may be having offering, but we didn't see much of that in the interim dividend that was declared. But if they are going to come up with something better, I believe also. Then the tier 2 banks, I believe those ones also, the likes of FCMB, they may likely do something good with a dividend yield much more than 10% as and they will bring in their results in February, March 2021.